Hello, everybody. This is Anthony for Investors Underground. Today, I have an opportunity to speak with an incredible member within the Investors Underground and trading community. It's my pleasure to chat with Mr. Todd Abrams. Todd trades stocks and options, often swinging positions for longer term timeframes. He's also an entrepreneur with the distinct titles of CEO and co founder at Icon Meals, which is a sponsor of Traders for a Cause. In addition to being an entrepreneur and trader, Todd is also a father, husband, and all around incredible individual. Hello, Todd. Thank you for being here and taking the time to speak with me today.
Awesome. It's a pleasure, Anthony, and look forward to it. Excited for this.
Same here, Todd. There's so much that you've accomplished so far in your life, and I hope we get a chance to talk about as many of them as possible. Can you tell us a little bit about your early upbringing and how you first got interested in entrepreneurship and the stock market?
Sure. Yeah. So originally, right now I live in Dallas, Texas. Been here a long time. Originally not though. I grew up in Canada. Grew up in sort of a small farming community with probably less than 10,000 people. So from that standpoint, early on, I think it was more had the entrepreneurial bug. I've never really, I call it, worked for anyone. So I've never had what I would call a real job. And probably, I don't even know if I'm really employable. But so I take my first, I guess, dose of getting into entrepreneurship as far as Honda came into our town when I was probably 16, 17. And that was the big thing. Like I told you, we had probably less than 10,000 people. And Honda came and all of a sudden there's 30,000 jobs. All these people are moving in there and everyone's like, oh, you got to go get this job at Honda. And I was going to college about 4 hours up north. And then when I came back, everyone's like, oh, you got to get a job here. My dad's like, oh, you got to get a job here. And I'm like, okay, so I went and got a job at Honda. And I tell you this because I lasted for 2 weeks. And the reason why I lasted for 2 weeks, didn't get fired, I quit. But the reason being behind that, so I went in, you had to put a white jumpsuit on, you had to walk between like two yellow lines. I still remember going and doing 4 jobs, 4 jobs for 2 hours a day is your 8 hours. But I don't know, putting steering wheels on, putting tire, dashboard, whatever. And my mind just isn't like, it can't do that, right? It can't process that same thing, doing repetitive, like boring stuff. When I have some, I don't know, I won't say the word I want to say, but some big guy, right, sitting down there drinking his coffee, eating his donuts and stuff, and then coming out and telling you what to do when the dang line shuts down or whatever. But when I quit, people are like, what are you doing? You're like crazy. Like you've screwed up all your opportunity and stuff. You're never going to get anywhere, blah, blah, blah. Because there's all these like PhDs and MBAs working here that had these full degrees, but this is sort of what they classified as now as their normal, right? It's like good money for them, etc. But when I quit, everyone was like, what are you doing? You're making like 20 bucks an hour. You're 18 years old. And what I did is I quit and went to network marketing, where I was doing 110 hours a week, basically, right? Going door to door. And I think about it now, it's crazy because downtown Toronto, knocking on doors, I wouldn't be doing that probably now. But in 100-degree or 80-degree heat with no base salary or anything, just making basically what I killed, right? But that was my first, I'll call it real, like, known. And before that, sure, I had lawn cutting business and other businesses. I grew up in a weird industry. My dad owns funeral homes and cemeteries. So from that standpoint, he's always owned his own business. Really, it's more, I'll call it a real estate play, just based on the value of the land and all the other stuff. But he's had that ever since I've been born. So like we're talking 50 plus, 40 plus years. But after that, getting into the network marketing side and getting into more personal development. So that was sort of like back the Tony Robbins, the Zig Ziglars, all this. That was really when I think my forte of wanting more personal growth, personal development. On the other side, I know we'll talk about it later on, but like in the health and training and stuff, I grew up in not really the best shape, right? My nickname for, I don't know, my adolescence, high school, and into early college was Lumpy, right? So I was a big boy. I played junior hockey and stuff, but I just thought everything like going in my mouth was calories, right? So I'd work out and stuff. But that was sort of when I got in the first real like personal development of bettering yourself, working on you, working on the mindset. And then moving forward from there is sort of went back to college. And after that, came out, worked for a company called Edge Technologies. It wasn't really working for a company. It was funny because I was going to go be a ski bum. That was the plan, right? Finish college, go to be a ski bum in Whistler with my wife, well, my girlfriend back then, Deborah. And I was in Cuba, yeah, because in Canada, you could go to Cuba back then. So that's where we were going, took a vacation. And I'd applied for a driver job. And I just needed some cash basically before I was going to go on my ski bum, whatever. And those guys called, and it was funny. She called my parents and said, hey, can Todd sell? And she's like, I don't know. And my mom got me a message in Cuban, like, hey, can you sell? I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So he's like, okay, wear a suit on Monday. So anyways, that was my forte into like sort of, again, these guys, it was $1 billion company, publicly traded on the Ordinaries Exchange in Australia. And it was a 21-year-old guy that had moved over there. And it was basically, we were the largest IBM 6686 like CPU manufacturer, and had a huge market share. We had a brand called KTX, and that was when we were doing like monitors, and I don't know, 15-inch monitors were selling for like $400. So we were bringing in by the truckload. It was owned by a Chinese billionaire. His name's Johnson Wang. You can Google that name sometime. That's a bunch of craziness. But that was sort of my inroad into sort of fast times. Like we started, I remember first couple of weeks, I was in a room. I ended up painting the room blue because it was a concrete room. And back then there wasn't any really like email and stuff. It was just starting. So this was early, I guess, 1994, 93. And so we're doing fax blasts, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I sort of built my own methodology for sales. And all of a sudden we started doing $1 million, $2 million, $4 million a week. And it was getting pretty crazy. And I went from Toronto to open in Montreal. We went to Vancouver. We opened a purchasing office in Fremont, California. And then fast track after Montreal, we were looking for a US headquarters. And that's how I ended up, long story short, but getting into Dallas, and learned a lot of lessons there. There's not always good people in the world. And I was 21 years old, 22 years old. And so I ended up holding the bag for a bad guy from Australia, let's say that. Anyways, this was my first lesson into really business, getting in. But from there, then I started my own company. So ever since then, it was pretty much our own company, right? I ran it with another guy. We built everything else. We built it up to 110 million in US. We had 8 locations, Boston, and a couple others. Just so from that standpoint, that was a forte into, I'll call it entrepreneurialism. And then went into had a company in the funeral industry. Like I said, my dad owns facilities and stuff. So we started a technology company, originally called I Undertake. It was later transformed the name to Aldor Solutions. And so we were the first guys ever to write funeral home management software for the death care industry. We did a lot of websites back then because there really was no websites. We did memorialization product. We had sort of like the monster.com for the funeral industry. It was called funeralemployment.com. We had Memorialcast, which was one of the first, if not the first, video streaming service. So let's say, I don't know, my mother passed away and I lived in Australia and I couldn't get back home. I could still participate in the funeral based on being virtually there. We did a bunch of memorialization products. So again, we sold that company in early 2000s to one of the publicly traded consolidators. And from there spun out the next company, which was called Layer Technologies, where we were actually hosting our web-based apps in the funeral industry. We thought we could do it better than the data center we were in. So we started there. To fast track that, we were the first guys ever. Most of your viewership will probably know who WordPress is. So we were the first ones ever to host WordPress. So Matt and Barry, back in the day when Matt was still employed, had first 2 servers with us. And that grew to 14 years later, but 67% of the sort of internet backbone was crossing our network. We're early adopter in the cloud computing space. So Computer Associates and a bunch of big customers were ours. We sold that in 2014 to DataPipe, who sold to Rackspace. So some of you guys will know Rackspace as the ticker symbol and as Rack. But so yeah, they're still part of our federal division with inside Rackspace today that does a lot of federal FBI data and security and stuff. But that's sort of the fast track into Icon. So and then my wife was like, well, what are you doing with food? So that's where we got into here.
Were you trading during any of these periods? I know you'd mentioned a few companies that were listed on different exchanges. Were you doing any trading at all during that time as well?
So I got into trading really back in later 90s. So it was when I had I was with the Australian-based company called Edge Technologies, and that's when I sort of got into trading. I got into I found what sort of worked for me. And again, in Canada, it was a little bit different for me. Like I was doing whatever RSPPs and all this other stuff, and it wasn't like a sort of when you came down to the States, you had more access to different brokers and stuff. And back then, it was like Ameritrade. I think had an MB trading account way back, if you guys remember that, and then Schwab and some others. But again, I was looking back. It was funny because way back into, it was Daytech originally, and then Ameritrade and whatever else, but trading with them. So I got into probably, it was about 1996, 1997. And I was sort of the internet high flyer. So I used to, like, at the end of the day, I'd probably buy, and I don't know, between 2 and close and pick what I was going to buy. And then basically either short or buy and cover or sell the next morning. Right. And I was sort of playing that gap. And that worked real well for a little while until it stopped working. But that was where sort of my interest, and then it sort of got, for me, pretty crazy because I was running roughly about 100 to 110 people in Edge, but that's when I had like started trading more and more and more. But then it got to the point where like I couldn't really be in a short position during the day and stuff. So I tried to trade pre-market. And again, that's when it sort of took a little bit of money away from me in regards to not being able to sort of focus on that. And that's when, of course, I would try to revenge trade and different things. So that got the better part of me there. But yeah, 1996, 97 was really sort of when I started. 97-ish, 98, 99 was probably there. And then traded a little bit into 2000s and stuff. But again, that was more when we had just started Layer Technologies. And so over those 14 years, a lot of focus for me was on that because we built that. We had about 220 employees. But yeah, I still remember some of the first ticker symbols and stuff way back. I think it was like Purchase Pro, PPRO. I traded Savas. And then when I was in the industry, and it's still what I do today, I think, is a lot of things that resonate with me, I tend to trade. And that would be like back in the funeral home days, sort of, I was trading some of the publicly traded consolidators like the SCIs, the Stewart Enterprises, that were different ticker symbols, more on the swing trade and stuff. But a lot of those had like, anyway, so that was some of the stuff. I just remember sort of the first trade and then the WorldComs and stuff way back in the day. So
Wow, yeah, and you were definitely trading during an exciting period. Can you talk a little bit about what types of setups you were looking for back then and how your style has evolved over the years? Are you still trading primarily stocks? Are you also doing options, any crypto?
yeah, so for me, it's more stocks. And then also since roughly probably 2020, 21 crypto. On the stocks, I'd say, again, I've resonated since I've had at least Icon over the past 7 years. I trade more of the stocks that, sure, I'll trade like the momentum stuff with sometimes in the room and stuff off Nate scans, etc. But also play some of the stuff that I know in the market, like that resonates for me. So honestly, food. Like, so again, not always high flyers, but I've just, it tends to me had the strategy that works. Like, so I don't know, muscle maker grill. I've traded a lot back and forth over the years with Blue Apron, even though I would never want to do anything with the company. You guys probably remember that one big crazy gap from like 2 up to 25 on Blue Apron, the start of the pandemic and other stuff. So we've been involved in different pieces, and I understand sort of some of the underlying pinnings on CAC and LTV and stuff. So a lot of that makes sense. Like, I know Blue Apron should have just been shorted for pretty much since day one, right? Because their metrics were way out of whack for just understanding the business. So that's what I look for sometimes. And most of those right now for me have been swings. I've done really well this year. Not getting into direct, but like on grill, just from 34 cents up to $1.53, and then sort of, so I've had some runs there. But again, my mind is conditioned. If I didn't have any other, I'll call it busyness in my life, I think my shorter time frames for me are better, just because I don't have the patience longer term. So for me, I have to really sit on my hands. I always end up sort of cutting my runners way too quick, etc. And I think from a risk tolerance, I probably don't always chop what I should fast enough with it, that hard stop. So there's pieces in there, but again, I like the shorter time frames, but I can't focus on that. So really, anything short over the past few years, it's real hard for me. During COVID, I was short a little bit, like off and on, but again, I just find I lose more money when I can't pay attention on those shorts, just because of, and then it stresses me out more. Like, yeah, I'm in a meeting or I'm doing something like this and I'm trying to get out, or I've got a stop that shouldn't have been triggered, but it was. So on the side of crypto, I've really stuck to more of the, I'll call it the bigger, like the Bitcoin, the Ethereums. I did fairly well on ADA, so Cardano, ADA, on that run. I understand my background in layer tech is technology a little bit, so I understand the data mining and stuff. Some of the other plays like associated there, the Mara, the Riots, the miners and stuff like that, that I sort of know how they've run with the market there. But again, on a daily basis, I'm still holding some crypto, and then I still trade around that. But honestly, for me, I guess my crypto over the past few years has honestly been probably how I paid for my couple older kids' colleges, just based on a few good runs here and there. So I enjoy it. It's just, honestly, I'd enjoy it if I had the time and the focus 100%, right? I think in the crypto, if you really want to be like sort of a degen and whatever, I'd be up all night doing different things. And I like some of the smaller, like sort of the shit coins and stuff as well, but it's, I know what I need to, I think, be in and stay away from those. Hey, if not, I just end up gambling. So,
And you actually touched on one of the questions that I had, which is, you're running a business, you're CEO of a company, and how do you manage positions that you might be in
yeah.
while you're maybe in a business meeting? How do you get in a position or add shares or exit a position, or you just have to forego that entirely? How do you do that? How do you manage that?
Yeah. So a lot of it for me now has been more swings, right? So I'll set like a pre number and then I'll either have, if it's running like on the grills and the other stuff, the Blue Aprons and some of those Wish and different things, that I'll set sort of a trailing stop or a stop that way. Or I'll look at sort of, the thing is for me, if I keep looking at it more times a day and I'm in a swing, it's probably worse, right? So I'm better to just have my plan and try to execute on that plan and maybe look at it once a day or whatever and adjust based on that. And I wish I had done that during COVID, because I look at where I went in on and a bunch of like stuff, right? Like the Bank of America's, the American Airlines and stuff. And I said I was going to just leave it, not touch it. And I would have been way better off rather than like taking these little dollars and $2 and different things and then end up with a bunch of haircuts on the other side. So, but it is what it is. And that's, so for me, like I said, I'm not putting in, I'll call it life-changing money into those trades, just because there's some swings that I have a good position size in, but I can't continue like sort of to scale over the day and stuff, because I can't be in front of it enough. And if I start in the morning, like I love pre-market and stuff where there's big volume, but then it's like, okay, I end up watching a position more than I should. So again, I love that. And when I do get freed up and stuff, then we'll look at, again, executing on a bigger strategy. But I think what I've had to do is bring account size down for me. So it's not like money sitting there that I can go play with, right? I sort of wire it or take it out, because then it's not sort of out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. And it's then just sort of playing what I can control. And if I can, hey, double that account or whatever, great. But it's not like stuff that's going to be, hey, you're the next billionaire or something, just based on sort of I'll call it the season in my life right now where I am at, just because the focus for me has to be on building my core business, because I got to be responsible and accountable to the folks that I have here. So
Mhm. Absolutely. And in terms of your trading style and strategy, I know you had mentioned like Blue Apron. Do you tend to focus on some of the areas that you understand particularly well? Do you see that as an edge in your trading, whether it's technology companies or crypto, areas where you have a little bit of expertise? Is that sort of what you focus on? Is that fair to
yeah, I
say?
think I need to learn a lot more, right? In regards to like, so I'm a more technical trader, I'll call it. Just it makes sense to me on some things, like fundamentals and stuff I used to try to look at a lot more and stuff. But for me, it's because of, I think, my attention span, I'm more in that now. So I'll look at like 3 time frames or whatever, right? And if am able to trade, I'm typically like, I'll call it a 1 to 5 and like maybe a 15. I'll look at the 30 and a daily and then compare sort of where we are, but it depends on what I'm in and stuff. On the grills and stuff and the Blue Aprons and things like that, I just sort of, like I told you, understand their CAC, understand different patterns. And I've traded, like, Blue Apron is not a good company, okay, by any chance, but from a trading standpoint, I understand the patterns, or at least the relevancy to me, because I've traded it enough over the years. So like their earnings are pretty consistent, like how they suck, but there's a certain pattern that I can play there, right? So I find I've been able to scale some of those position sizes to take advantage, but also then I'll put a tight stop if I am wrong on it. But I found that knock on wood, the past couple of years, I've been pretty good on those. Again, they just basically keep siphoning in money, right? Like ATMs and all this other stuff. So it's pretty relevant to what you can do. You can play up and then you can play short. It's just, there's not a lot of sometimes shares on the short side. So there's different things as such, but again, some of them are as well, like grill stuff. There's not always big volume, right? But there's a lot of like insider crap, and I don't mean insider trading, but insiders like in the business, and there's different people that come in. So I know some just within the market because of other conversations and stuff. So that's why I try to follow. But again, I wouldn't have big position size in something that's trading a couple 100,000 to a couple million shares a day, right? But and then you'll see, hey, you get pattern days of whatever, 10, 50, 100 million, which I know is not big volume for a lot of your users and stuff. But in some of those, then you can become, have an opportunity to get more liquid in those events in those. So again, yeah, I understand a little bit on the food side and just the costs and metrics. So those are the things. And then also some of the delivery companies, some of the suppliers on the food side and stuff we've played in stuff as well. Options I'd love to get into more. I find like I have Done a little bit over the pandemic with that, but I've also lost probably the most money I've lost on some of them. So again, rather than me being short on a big dollar stock, I would use like puts and calls more or less. And that had been my strategy for a little bit. And I made some decent money in there, but again, I don't have a comfort level to go buying huge amounts of puts or huge amounts of calls, etc. Just because, sure, you're going to lose just what you put in, but again, that can be substantial sometimes. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Todd, how did you learn how to trade? What resources were available
Yeah.
to you?
I think pretty similar to probably a lot of early on users, right? I think Tim Sykes bombarded everyone on the internet with the most ads and stuff. So way back is whatever, penny stock trading and different things. I've followed that. And then it's honestly just been YouTube and fooling around. I've probably blown up 4 or 5 accounts, not big accounts, but like just trying different things that haven't worked out for me and stuff. And then I'd sort of have to make that money back and restart. But again, I haven't ever put like, oh, hey, 7 figures into an account and gone sort of hog wild that way or whatever from day one. So it's through a lot of trial and error, right? And I think like anything in business, it's I don't know, it's what your risk tolerance is. And I think for me, risk tolerance on business is a lot different than a lot of people, because people always say, hey, like, oh my gosh, like, how do you do this? It's crazy. Like, but again, I look at risk as a lot differently, because for me on my businesses, I'm betting on me. And it's always going to be whatever it takes. And I think that's the same thing. It's whatever you put into it's what you should expect to get out of it. So if you're trading and you think you're going to get rich and you're not putting in the hours and putting in the time and learning and going back and sort of looking at your trade journal and stuff, then you should expect to not sort of make anything, and a loss should be pretty much expected, right? You get lucky once in a while, but I think that's really, again, going back and understanding. And for me, yeah, I have to put in a lot more time on the trading, but it's also priorities for me right now. And again, I love trading because trading allows you for a lot of different things, right? It allows you freedom, allows that travel, allows there's really no ceiling on it if you really put in those hours. And I think I've been successful in other areas of my life, so I don't see why. In my sort of philosophy is, if you're successful in one area of life, you can be successful in all areas of your life. It's just, again, I'll call it leveling up and prioritizing and really digging into what that is. And again, for me, I know I can go back to that and supersede sort of where I was before and what I'm doing currently. It's just, again, I have to allocate my time to what's sort of my calling and my sort of area right now, just to get through this season and sort of advance Icon and really take us to where we need to be. So if not, I'm just not doing a sort of disservice, right? And people a lot of times say, oh, plan B and all this. I don't have plan B, right? Plan A is sort of where all my focus goes in everything. Maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, but I'm pretty much 100% all in on whatever I'm doing. And that's sort of, I believe, where your attention lies and stuff, you're going to be your best you, right? So, and again, working on me in this piece, and as CEO role or owner, whatever you want to call it, like, again, just trying to better those 100 plus, whatever, 90 to 100 people that I have here. So again, focus sort of on where we are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I definitely want to ask some questions about Icon Meals and your
sure.
role a little bit later.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I had for you was about risk and risk tolerance. Do you have a different risk tolerance for your core operations at Icon Meals versus trading? And have you learned anything from trading that you're able to apply to the business and entrepreneurial side, or
Sure.
vice versa?
Yeah, I think you have to have like a lot of people like, oh, I'm using a mental stop and I have more risk tolerance and stuff. And sometimes it just becomes sort of stupidity, right? And I think I'll tell it risk in my business is I look at risk as a little bit differently. Like, I'm entrepreneur. I've never had really any, I'll call it, thing handed to me on a silver spoon. It's not like I came from a bunch of money and different things. So it's things you build. But risk to me is when like I said, betting on myself. And that's why I love trading, right? Because you don't have all these other people. If you're just with your own money and stuff, it's you versus you. Okay. And I have a saying, like I said, like, people always say, well, I'm not ready to do this or that. And I'm like, you got to stop procrastinating, right? Like, because they're always like, hey, when this is perfect or that's perfect. And whether it be trading, hey, so maybe I should redefine that, because if it is a perfect setup for you and it's an A+ or whatever, that's different, right? But like when they say, hey, I don't know, when I have this much money, it's going to be the perfect time for me to start doing this or that. And the same with business. And they say, hey, we're going to launch this new product when it's perfect. Well, there's no such thing as perfect. Okay. I say better is perfect. And if you can work on being better 1% in every area of your life every day, then you'll continually be better, right? Aiming towards that sort of sort of mythical perfect, because there is no perfect. Because if you do hit whatever goal or whatever it is, that's going to last for a second, but then you got to evolve and grow or you're going to die. Okay. And the same in trading. So if you're not able to, I don't know, increase your position size, increase your share size, like reduce your risk, reduce your losses on a monthly basis and have more green days than red, you're going to lose, right? And the same in business. So looking at that risk, I think me betting on me and me, people say, hey, what do you do? Well, it's whatever it takes to do, right? Sometimes it's like down in the past, it's been, okay, well, how do you make payroll? I don't know, but I don't think about it. I know we're going to be able to make payroll, right? And it's taking those actions. So sometimes people, I think, get frozen by fear and then take lack of actions, or almost like they're hesitant, etc. And that's what I think a lot of entrepreneurs, like I always have the philosophy in business here. People are always like, oh, I'm like, I have a lot of people that work with me and I don't know, employees and stuff that are like, they feel, I don't know, empowered or enabled. I'm like, great, but like, you want to go start your own business? I want you to, right? But they feel like, hey, I need more money. And well, you got to be sort of justifying that. So I'm always of the mindset, like, I don't have a problem with anyone working with me that I want them to go succeed. Someone comes and says, hey, I want to start my own business. Great. Like, I'm going to support you and do whatever I can. But it's that risk. And so many people think they're worth this much, right? But then they won't take the steps to go take those actions. And it's maybe because they haven't invested in themselves. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like, I see people here that, I don't know, have cars, have this and that. And I'm like, I know how much I pay you. Okay. And like, you talk about all these goals, but you've come to me on borrowed money because you need credit card debt, but you're driving this car, you're having this mortgaged house. I think it's like perception's not always reality, right? And so for me, my level of risk is I've never, like I joke around all the time, like I have to go think if I want to buy a new pair of shoes because I got my kids, my family, my business, right? So everything I have is invested in here. And that's to me not risk, because I know what I'm going to be able to have on the payout. I've had 2 past companies. And again, it's a different level. People go, oh, stress. Well, I think stress is a lot of times self-invoked, right? Because when I look at risk, I say, hey, is it going to, like, I know, I remember the first time I ever got sued in the food industry. And I'm like, I'm doing everything legit, like integrity. That's like me. I'm like, what did I do to get sued? It's crazy. Like, I've done nothing wrong. And the lawyer's like, look, as you grow in this industry, you're going to have ambulance chasers. But again, every time now I get a letter or whatever, right? It's like, is it going to impact me 5 minutes? Is it going to impact me 5 days? Is it going to impact me 5 months? How's it going to, like, and it's not, right? And this too shall pass. Okay. And from that standpoint, it's then, how do you go and you take the steps? And a lot of people put off things that are going to cause short-term pain, like cutting that loss, right? Or doing this or that trading. Okay. Because, oh, it might get better. Well, no, like, don't procrastinate, cut it and move on, right? It's like evolving and growing. And so many people, I see that in their own life, that they've had this past thing happen, or this happened, or that happened, or like, I don't know, use a gym example. Like, I get people, and one of my things is, if I'm going to have a business partner, I'm going to do something, I don't know, way back in network marketing or anything, partner, right? We're going to go to the gym, we're going to train. And I see people like, oh, they're like, hey, what do you want to train? I'm like, let's do legs. And they're like, oh yeah, well, back in the day, like I used to squat this much or that much. And then they're like, well, I've got this like pain condition. I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go, right? So I've seen people go in and then like we'll be training, all of a sudden they disappear. But I've also got the guys that have been training and then they'll puke and stuff, but they keep going, right? And that's the guys that I want to partner, or girl that I want to partner with in business, just because it's the mindset. And so many people like just, they have bad mindset, right? They don't have that mindset that's going to push them forward. They're weak. And they find sort of, I'll call it normalcy or whatever. And they set their status quo so low that they're never able to gain. And that then becomes a comfort. And comfort also almost becomes sort of, I don't know, self-limiting belief, where again, I look at trading and I look at business the same way. Like, if you can't believe in yourself, you need to get into a mentorship, right? You need to see that it is possible by others doing, and have someone believe in you more than you can believe in yourself. And it's the same with business. And people are like, oh my gosh, why do you go to these masterminds? Why do you go to these groups? But I've always had mentors. Okay. Like, if not, I don't know if you know John Maxwell, but he calls it the law of the lid. And there's always that lid that you're hitting up against, right? And if it's the story of like Ray Kroc and McDonald's, until the other guys came in, he was looking at his burgers, not real estate, right? When that lid was lifted, then you can go to the next level. I think that's true in trading, that's true in anything, in business, whatever. But you have to surround yourself with people that are in different positions, right? Like, and I'm a big believer in time collapsing. So I love what Nate's done, like with the DVDs and the IU and stuff. But to me, that's time collapsing, right? If I want to learn something, I want the shortest path forward. And typically that's going to be paying for something, okay? Because I want a time collapse. But so many people, they're going to go invest in that car, but they're not going to invest in themselves, okay? So it's funny to me because like I see all these people like mortgage till the hilt on different things, not just homes, but then they won't invest in themselves. And for me, it's like I had, sure, multiple different personal trainer stuff, right? I have business coaches, 2 business coaches. I'm in 4 different masterminds right now, and I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on investing in me. And that's because I need to be better. If I'm not the best version of myself for my family, for my kids, for my wife, for my employees, then I'm not doing what I should be doing as far as my job and really being accountable and responsible to them. So
that's excellent. And I like that you brought up this importance of being responsible for ourselves and really trying to reach to become the best possible version of ourselves that we can be, because so many times we might feel a lot of anxiety or fear, and really challenging ourselves will allow us to really reach another level. And so, what advice would you give to those who feel like they're stuck and they're trying to reach that next level? What practical advice would you give to them?
sure. I'd say take baby steps, right? A lot of people just get frozen by fear and then they don't do anything. Why they say, hey, we're going to start tomorrow. Or like I said before, it's like when it's perfect. There's never a perfect time, right? And I say, like, I don't even know if this is a word. I use the word excuseless all the time. You got to live an excuseless life. There's no excuses, because in life, okay, trading, whatever, if you're going into a position or you're going to exit a position, you're always buying or selling, okay? And I don't mean buying or selling stock, but you're buying or selling your own thoughts, right? You're buying or selling, like, hey, the decision that you're going to make. And that's the same in life, where you're always like trying to sell yourself something the opposite way. It's like that little devil sitting on your shoulder, right? And you just have to take the next steps, and you have to believe that you can do it, right? But again, it's investing in yourself. You have to look at, like, I think like with YouTube and stuff, way back in the 90s, there wasn't all this like access to information, right? With like all the AI and everything, you can do anything you want, from form a business to, I don't know, like have copywritten to learn trading, all on the internet, pretty much for free, right? There's tons and tons and tons of resources, but I see a lot of people that they're lazy, okay? It's like, I don't know if you heard this story, but there's this old guy and he's sitting on the porch, right? And he's rocking his rocking chair. And there's this Irish setter sitting there beside him. They come up and sit down, and this dog's like whining. He's like, oh, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And this guy's like, oh, he's lying on a nail. And I'm like, well, why the heck doesn't he get up and get off the nail? And the old guy's like, well, because it just hurts enough for him to whine. And that's where a lot of people in life are. They're just sitting on that nail, right? And it hurts enough for them to complain and to talk about other people and to gossip and to say, hey, this is what I used to do or that, but then they're never going to friggin' do the investment, or they're never going to change because they're just comfortable. And I think, like, especially over the past few years, our government and other people have really sort of helped standardize that process, which is quite bad to say. So I think you need to like get around people and surround yourself. It's that same thing, like whoever, I don't know, whatever they say, like the 5 people that you surround yourself with, you're going to be the 6th, right? And that's the same thing in income structure. I never want to be the guy in the room that makes the most money, has the most experience, anything. That's why I go to masterminds. That's why I go to coaches. And like some of the coaches, yeah, it's a love-hate relationship, right? Because they break it down and they tell me what the frig I'm not doing and what I need to do. And they hold me accountable. And again, there's so many, like, I don't know, snowflakes nowadays that don't want to be held accountable. They want the pinnacle, but they don't want to put in the work, right? So I think you really got to reality check and gut check yourself. First, I'd look at your routine. What's your daily routine like? Like, are you waking up in the morning happy to be alive, like thanking God for, hey, another opportunity, right? Or are you like, oh shit, I got to get out of bed and blah, 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 and I hit the snooze button 3 times. And then looking at like, just, it's the whole thing, like Nate said, it's like eat well, train well, trade well, right? And that's the philosophy. Like, are you healthy mentally, physically, spiritually, to where you need to go to be your best version? And if not, gut check, well, start lining up those pieces and then take it into your daily routine, right? What's your day start like? How do you block prioritize? Are you putting in the work to make yourself physically better if you're not where you want to be? Are your diet, like, have you done? So there's a lot of different pieces, blood work, etc., because all those are intertied. And a lot of those things are just up in your mind. So if not, what are you feeding your mind? Like TV, people say like different, I don't know, world events and stuff. I'm like, I don't have a clue. I don't watch TV. I don't know, right? So unless someone's told me or it's popped up on my news, whatever, I don't see it. So, and that's what I don't want that negativity and stuff. And I think our society and so many people consume so many negative things and then participate in those outwards, especially with social media, that it's hard for a lot of people. So again, take those steps. I'd surround yourself with people. Like the IE community is perfect, right? There's all the different people, okay, that are filling in from like a physical side, from a training side, from a mental standpoint, right? Getting guidance. Like you have so many people within that chat, just within this whole overall community. But that's, again, just in life. Surround yourself with people who are where you want to be, and then look at them, right? And you want to mirror them. That's one of my favorite things to see, is like, what the heck does this person do? What does this person do? What does this person do? And then again, going back in time collapsing or copying, there's nothing wrong with copying, right? What you want to have to get where you want to be, who someone's already there. And then taking those different pieces and building it to individualize into, I'll call it, your personality, just like trading, your style. Like for me, I'm not long term because my mindset doesn't work that way, right? Like I'm OCD, like sort of ADH, like got to be now. But again, I think a lot of people are of that in life. This is really what their personality is, but they're trying to do something else because everyone wants something materialistic now. So again, go work on yourself. The books you're consuming, the content you're consuming, is it relevant to where you want to get to? And then from a health standpoint, there's so many things. If you're healthy and you're strong, sort of, I don't mean strong, but like mentally strong, physically healthy, then you're going to be a lot better for business, for trading, for just being a better person in general.
Can you talk a little bit about transformation and how you've transformed not just yourself physically, but also mentally, and how traders can get into this sort of process of transforming themselves? What does it even take to
Sure.
transform and become a better version of themselves?
Yeah, I think for me, it was like starting off, I'll call it, into trading and other stuff, is believing, because a lot of people, like, they see the Nates and the other people, right, that have done these big trades, or they even look at, like, I don't know, let's say a chart. I want to vomit half the time I look at Nate's charts, right? It's green, like red, green. It's like, that's the perfect, how does he do that, right? But from that standpoint, it's the same as like people see it. They got to believe, right? They got to be around people that it's not like BS, it's true. And when you see that things are capable, then you put it into a realm that you have to truly believe. Because if you can't believe, then it's hard to put the steps in place to ever think you can achieve, right? So many people, oh, I'm gonna make six figures. Well, six figures is crap, right? Like it's in today's economy, it's not anything. But again, they've made it there, and then they're like, oh, they're stagnated because that is a comfort. And okay, it pays the bills, and I have like, oh, no money, but it just, hey, I'm there. But they never go to reach 500,000 or 1 million, right? You've got to have that vision. But I think, like, it's, for me, it's, I'm a big reader. So in the morning, I like built my routine, right? I wake up in the morning, I do certain things, I read. I have, for me, it's prayer, it's Bible, it's etc. And then I go to work it, right? But again, the books that I've read have changed my mindset. It's opened it to more abundance, to prosperity, etc. And I think so many people, they see television and stuff, and they see this false sense of reality a lot of the time. But again, it's like, I don't know, you have to start somewhere. So it's like, if I'm going in and my car says, hey, it needs an oil change and stuff, well, you need an oil change, right? You need an oil change. You need your wheels rotated. And a lot of people don't want to take those steps. So it's, again, I say, like, half the time I want to rip my head off. A lot of my friends, I want to take my head off and put it on their body, but I can't do that. I get frustrated just because I can't, right? I can't get them to where they want to be. And they're the people that a lot of the time I have to, like, I don't know, in my life, I've had to dissociate myself with some people. And that's just changing who I hang around with. Not that they're bad people, but I don't want to be stuck in that realm, right? Like, if I was still, I don't know, I see people from where I grew up and stuff that, I don't know, drugs and overdose and other crap, and just their lives are garage mechanic or this, and they're happy, or they're still working on Honda, but they have so much potential. And I feel like they just rob themselves of what they could really be, right? They have, to me, it's about, like, sort of, what's your calling, what's your purpose in life? And look, I'm a big believer in God gives you all these abilities, right? It's, you have to really move forward and fully activate on that, right? And take the action. And I think from that, it's, for me, it's been reading, it's been surrounding myself. I've always had someone, like a mentor, who's way different. Like, so I had a billionaire mentor. I had Bob Neon, before he passed away. He owned the largest real estate investment trust in Canada, Lexus Neon, and they bought one of my companies. But he came sort of like rich dad, poor dad. He's like my second dad, right? He passed away when he's 57 from an oversized heart. But some of the life lessons, this is a guy that had never graduated, grade 9, whatever, right? But just the life lessons and how to conduct business. And it was all built on relationships and network. And I have a couple things in life. For me, it's, my big thing is, for many years, network's really important to me, right? Like, sure, they say network's your net worth, but for me, I've challenged myself, and it's not like a New Year's resolution, but for me, I've always had, I need on a weekly basis to go have 3 new people that aren't in my current network, that, like, make more money than me, that have bigger businesses than me, etc. And sort of, I'll call it, befriend or become in that network, right? And it's a process. Like, a lot of people are always like, I don't know, wealthy people and stuff, it's, you have a bunch of people going up and they always seem like they want something like you want, right? So again, you have to go in, not try to give as much value as you can give to those people without ever expecting anything back. And for me, it's about challenging myself to get into that network. And that might be networking groups, right? It might be public speaking. I hated public speaking before when I was like way back, but then network marketing, I got over that fear really, really quick, right? Rejection. And sort of until I learned, hey, no is not really no, it's just not right now, right? And again, it's sort of that philosophy and changing. And I think there's a preconceived notion of what other people think about you. And you have to really throw that out the window. Who cares? Like, they're not paying your bills. They're not going to change your life. They're not going to write you a check, right? But again, so many people get caught up on that. It's like crazy to me with all the filters on like Instagram and all this stuff. They're like, oh, it's not the perfect picture. It's not this. Well, what are people going to think? Who the F cares? Okay. And that's what you have to have. And once you get into that, it changes your mentality. So if one, stop surrounding yourself with negative Nellies, right? Start investing in yourself in books, start investing in yourself in X amount of sort of content that's relevant to what you want to do. Get a health checkup, right? I don't mean from a normal doctor. Okay. You got to get someone who's whatever, hormone doctor, whatever. Like, there's so many things that people have going on in their gut that they don't even know, that cause so many other factors, from mental to a lot of other things. But when you become, like I say, if you eat right, you feel right, right? You feel right, you're going to trade right, you're going to work right, you're going to have a better relationship, etc. So getting that in check is key. And then going back and doing that sort of every quarter minimum. So many people ask me all the time, like diets like this and the workout. Look, you need to go get your blood panel drawn. And then from your blood, because we don't know what we don't know. It's whatever's under the hood, right? You could have a preconceived condition. I don't know, the blood panels that I use 40 pages long, it's 14 vials of blood, but you're going to get stuff that you probably don't want to even know, but it's relevant because I want to build the best version of me, right? And that's not just externally, it's internally. So doing that and then getting on a training program. It's like, you can't expect to make millions of dollars a year trading if you don't start somewhere, right? And building yourself up to the PDT and other things. And I think it's those things that are overcoming. And sure, you have long-term goals, but I'm not just about long-term goals. I'm about setting a bunch of things in the midst and then celebrating those small wins, because so many people are, they're going to celebrate when they have 100,000 in their account profit or $1 million. Well, no, celebrate a couple wins, but don't get stuck up on those wins, right? It's like when Dallas, what they say, Emmett Smith, whatever, won, right? From that standpoint, he was in the gym the next morning again, going back and looking at for the next win. And that's what you got to look at, right? Celebrating short term, but again, never being satisfied. And from that standpoint, never being satisfied, just moving forward, always evolving. And I think the other thing is, when I learned to pivot, and that goes back to my risk tolerance and stuff, but like, if something doesn't go right, don't get stuck with that same trade, right? Pivot, learn to pivot. It's not working. Okay. But so many people get caught up and they can't pivot, right? They can't make that change. I think once you learn to pivot, you're constantly evolving. You should not be the same trader, the same person you are the next year or 6 months in, right? The market changes. You got to adopt. It's the same with business. If you're not adopting and you're not evolving and you're not growing, you're going to die. Those trades that used to work for you aren't going to work, right? Those things that you were shorting, you're going to keep getting blown up on, okay, etc. But some people are just hard-headed and don't want to grow. But again, I think the biggest thing is surround yourself with people, having a coach, having a mentor, having someone that holds yourself accountable. If you can't be responsible and accountable to yourself, then get someone that's going to believe in you more than you can believe in yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, and on track to transformation, can you talk about the importance of consistency and how important it is for traders or anyone listening, really, who is looking to improve themselves, to take consistent steps day after day to eventually make their transformation?
Yeah, I think consistency is the key thing, right? For me, it's like I don't do everything well, but consistency has been one of the things for me over the years. And like, people say, holy crap, you're in great shape, etc. Well, I'm 47. I wasn't in good shape until after I was 35, right? I made a decision when I was 34 years old. I still remember on New Year's Eve, just to stop drinking. Haven't pretty much had a drink since, maybe a glass of wine, but haven't been intoxicated since 2012. And from that standpoint, I said, hey, I'm going to do a men's physique show. And everyone's like, oh, like funny, yeah, whatever. And just the consistent actions moving forward over that, I've just got better and better shape, right? Where I think it's been, I'm pretty consistently like the things that you do on a daily basis consistently are going to build your long-term results, right? And that's for me, consistently waking up. Like, I don't set an alarm clock. People are like, holy crap, you wake up early. I don't know why. It's like 3:17, 3:15. If I set my alarm clock at 4 o'clock, I'm still up between 3 and 4. If I'm on the West Coast, it sucks because unless I go to bed at 1 o'clock, it's pretty much waking up at 1 to 2 o'clock. But again, I have a certain routine. I don't know why I can't sleep in. So I'm a 5 to 6 hour a night guy. Sometimes, sure, I'll crash and need longer, but consistently wake up then and have a routine that people say, well, how many days a week do you train? I don't know. I train when I feel like I'm going to train. It's typically 6 to 7 days a week. And a lot of people are like, holy crap, that's like selfish. Well, to me, no, it's not, because I wake up early. I get training out of the way, right? I'm home by 6 o'clock in the morning, typically. I have a 23-18 and ready 7-year-old. So I take my 7-year-old to school. So that 15-year break was, God said, hey, you're not done yet. You need some more excitement in your life. But so I'll wake up, right? And after that, train out of the way. But I need that for me. And that's my time, like my therapy, I'll call it. And for me to be the best version of me, right? It's consistently waking up. It's taking, my vitamins, consistently my meals every day, right? And training that way so that I can show up as the best version of me. My wife, like, if I don't train for 2 or 3 days, she's like, get your ass to the gym, because I turn into like grump, right? And that's my sort of happy place and stuff. And it allows me to blow off my steam, to have, I don't know, I'm the guy you're going to find in the gym with the hoodie on, the earphones in. I'm not talking, I'm not whatever. It's 45 minutes to an hour and a half and I'm done. But that's my time. That's my like sort of, and again, it's just consistently, whether I'm on the road or not, I'm going to find a gym. I'm going to make it happen. I think a lot of the sort of same mentality is Zach, right? From that standpoint, Zach training people and stuff, and talk to him all the time. But in regards to sort of his mentality, it's the same way, right? So consistently taking those actions over and over and over. And like it says, whatever, 21 days to sort of build something, 90 days till it becomes a habit. And it's true. A lot of people don't take that time, right? So like a lot of the transformations out there and stuff, it's not really transformation, but one of the best programs I'd say out there, and a good friend is Andy Frisella, right? 75 Hard. And people are like, oh, it's a transformation. It's not. It's a mindset program. And I guarantee if you haven't done 75 Hard, a lot of the probably listeners and viewers need to do it, because it's a mental reset. And it's hard because I think a lot of the people out there go and cheat themselves. And like, it's funny because in 75 Hard, it's a bunch of simple things, but they have to be consistently done for 75 days, right? And that's like 2 workouts, inside, outside, food, blah, 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 blah. They don't give you diet, don't give you anything. But it's interesting to me because it's all about consistency and mindset, right? And I think when you get into that, then everything else becomes easy. If you consistently trade, right, and you're consistently evolving and you're consistently trading, you can't just expect to go make a trade and then, I don't know, take 3 months off and there's no consistency. You haven't watched the charts. You're not in tune with the market. You're not in tune with the runners. You're not in tune with like a bunch of stuff just that way, right? And it'd be the same thing for me to go in and not look at like sort of the crypto market at all and come back in and go, holy crap, it was at 60, now it's at 28. And like, this is what it's going to, you don't have no clue. But when you're consistently involved in something and participating, then you can, I don't know, then your swings aren't as big either, right? Like, I don't mean swings in stock, but like, as far as, hey, your changes and stuff consistently, well, the best thing to do is you want to lose weight, okay? Consistently lose a pound over a week or 2 pounds. But what do most people want? They want 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds in a week, right? And I think from that standpoint, it's not this magic pill. People are like, holy crap, what do you take? I don't take anything, okay? So from that standpoint, it's like, it's food. I've been eating Icon meals consistently for almost 7 years. And it's pretty much, I'm a pretty basic guy, 3 meals a day. As far as like clean, I'll call it. I don't know, it's protein and veggies and whatever. But it's, again, I have an understanding of what works for me. And that's why I tell people, don't get caught up with all the different gurus out there, whether it be stock gurus or whether it be diet gurus or coaches, right? There's so many people out there. Don't take information from someone that is not where you want to be. And a lot of these people out there today, I told you, perception is not always reality, right? There's a lot of people that I see speaking on stage and stuff that they're talking about money and stuff. And I know they don't have that money, okay? So from that standpoint, or they don't have this account size, they don't have this. So don't take information, don't take training information from someone that doesn't look like you. I'm not going to like, I think that's a lot of the things that we get caught up in, right? So, but consistently take the action, consistently do what you say you're going to do. That's a big thing. If you're lying to yourself and you say you're going to do something, then you don't follow through, you've just totally screwed yourself mentally, like in your subconscious, that it's okay, right? And that's going to break down a bunch of other things and get into like a big circle. So you have to hold yourself accountable. I tell people all the time, for consistency, you have to be the hardest boss on yourself. You have to be the one. If you're not coming into work at 7 o'clock, let's say, and leaving at X, and you're shortchanging the process, you're shortchanging yourself. You're going to shortchange your results, right? So consistency is key, and stay on point and just consistently work at it. And don't get caught up if you screw something up. If you screw something up and you're off a day in consistency, you didn't do what you said you're going to do in a trade and you didn't get out or you didn't eat what you're supposed to eat or train, don't be that hard on yourself, okay? Get back on the bus and then continue going. But again, get back into that consistency and just don't accept your own excuses.
Mm-hmm. That's excellent advice. And just to confirm, for those who might have fallen off track, for example, force yourself to get back on track. Is that the best possible answer for those who have
for me, unless
fallen off?
there's something like literally like mentally or physically totally wrong with you, right? There's no excuse why you can't get back on track. And it becomes a mindset issue, right? And then I tell you, like, if it is your mindset, okay, then you need to go talk to someone or get around people. And to me, it's simple. Like if I wasn't, and I'm sure my friends work out and stuff, and I have friends I train with, I typically train by myself. So you have to decide what you want for you, because ultimately no one's going to hold your hand and walk you through in life. And everyone knows that, right? But everyone doesn't want to accept that. They think that like this magic fairy is going to show up someday and the consistency fairy is just going to sprinkle dust on them. It's not going to happen. And it's the same with a trade. Like, great, I had a great trade. I'm not consistent. So that was just luck, right? And I got lucky on that. And let's say the same three things that worked right now, I get blown out on the next three trades. I have no consistency. That was a lucky trade. But again, if I go back and consistently downsize on my position size, right? Cut the losses, take the little bits of wins and just let it go and let my runners run, consistently doing what I said I was going to do, okay? Then that becomes a plan to get back on track. And that's the same thing. Yeah. So you got to just gear down. You got to be hard on yourself. If you're not going to be hard on yourself, don't expect the results that like you think you're going to get, because you're not entitled to anything. Like, but that's where I see so many people today think they're entitled based on, hey, they've been in the job this long, they've done this or in the past. Who gives a crap? The past's the past. What are you doing now to advance yourself to where you are? And again, I'm not trying to be an ass, and some people probably like, oh, blah, 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 but it's, you have to be hard on yourself and you have to really determine what you want, because there's more resources available to us today than ever before, right? To allow us to do whatever we want to do. So that's why I said, if like there's people on here that have been tremendously successful trading, right? And there's no reason why they can't be tremendously successful in a relationship. There's no reason why they can't be tremendously successful and healthy and fit and have it all, right? Like have money, that's why I see so many people as well. Some people have a ton of money, but then they can't enjoy it because they're not healthy. And for me, everything I do is about longevity, right? So longevity for me is like, money's just a tool, right? Money allows, it's a tool and a resource for me to be able to help other people do more things down the road, right? And that's how I look at it. It's not like it's not a measuring stick on, hey, how big your bank account, at least to me is, right? It's like, what else can I do? Because way back for me, when I had my first two kids, it was all about material things, right? It was like, oh, I got to make more money. I got to make more money. And I look back, I don't regret anything, but I say like a lot of the things that I look at, I wish I'd done things differently, right? With Ryder, I feel blessed because it's all about sort of memories, about experiences, about doing different things. And it's not about that. So I sort of gave some of that up, but I think that's important for you to really prioritize what you want in your life and then work on those pieces. Because if you don't have your health down the road, then you have a problem, right? It doesn't matter how much money you have. If you don't have that health and you don't have that well-being. So for me, it's about longevity. I want to live as long as I can, be able to enjoy all the experiences and different things with my family, with my friends, my people I love for a long period and be healthy until sort of that end.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I think that's extremely helpful. And what impact do you believe that what your diet is and how you live your life, health wise, exercise, do you think all of that can have a positive impact when you apply it consistently for traders out there?
100%. It's like when we talked about first supporting like Traders for Cause and stuff, it's like you eat well, train well, trade well, right? And I think it goes into, if you're eating garbage, I don't care how good of a trader you are, you're not performing at your optimal peak, right? And there's a lot of things like I say about the blood panels and different pieces, because you need to know what's going on inside. You could be eating something for 25, 30 years that is putting your whole body off, and it's just your mindset, right? In different things. Or let's say for males, if you go to a normal doctor practitioner, and let's say you're a trader, and let's say you're not even training or you're not doing anything, but let's say your test levels and your hormones are all screwed up, and your test levels for, I don't know, a 40-year-old man or whatever, 200 or something like that, like you're not performing optimally. If you just raised those levels to 800 to 1100 or more, you're trading, okay? Because it's not about building muscle, about adopting your optimizing your hormones. It's the mental aspect of the game, right? And when that, like, because once you're not in that mental state, then you have anxiety, you have depression, you have all these different things that you might not even be aware you're coping with, but that's what's putting you off, right? So again, you got to go get that first. Like, I'd say that's your key thing. And then optimizing your diet, like, remember, the more garbage you put in your body has to work harder to process that, right? And to me, it's more and more scary eating garbage nowadays, because all these different regulatory boards and stuff are like allowing our food to have so much more crap in it. That's chemicals, that's things that really do things that we don't even know what they're doing on our body right now, right? So for me, it's about eating whole food. Like, I'm a big protein guy, like meats, right? Whatever, vegan, whatever you want to be, okay? But just consuming whole food. And then sure, you can go off a little bit and stuff. Like, I love food. So when we go out, I'm going to eat, right? I'm not sort of like totally like, hey, chicken and rice. But again, building the foundation, just like a trading principles. What are your setups, okay? And let's say, for instance, you're trading, you want your A+ setups and stuff. So that's, for me, is my meat and my veggies, etc. Well, okay, maybe I'm not going to say McDonald's because I haven't been there in many years, but let's say it's like Five Guys or something, right? Maybe that's a C+ setup. And we know sometimes it works and sometimes I'm going to feel good, but I really, really want it today. Okay, so great. I took that trade. It didn't work out so well, but I cut it. Okay, so I ate my Five Guys. I'm going to go train. I'm going to get back on track. That's sort of how I look at that, right? And I think that's key, like having the right food to, and again, if you're in the morning, you're a morning person, you're getting up, don't just have your coffee. Like, sure, if you want, like for me, I'm a big guy on intermittent fasting. I believe like traders, if we're trading early, pre-market early, like I feel more energized not eating in the morning. So I fast a lot of the time, right? Like intermittent fasting. So I like do an 18-6 or whatever that is. But if you look at it, typically like you're sleeping 8 hours, whatever. So 8 of those hours are slept, okay? But I feel more focused and I take ketones and stuff. And ketones like fuel my brain. So instead of me looking at like my carbohydrates and stuff, I'm getting fuel to my brain, right? But I feel sharper. I feel like I can dial in more and stuff like that. And that's how I like feeling. So if I'm ever doing a speaking event and stuff, I would never eat. I'm going to fast before that. I train fasted, etc. I have for years. So there's just different tools. I look at it like, just as you have in your trading arsenal, all these different setups you have in your quiver, your tool belt, right? Different things that you can use in life, your diet, your training, supplementation, hormone optimization. Again, I don't know how many of your traders like are doing like cold plunge or ice baths and sauna. Like, you got to look at these tools. I use that. I have both them in my garage, right? I have a cold plunge. I have a sauna in my garage. The best thing ever, because at the end, like before I go to bed, I'll go in the sauna for 30 minutes, infrared and heat, right? Just totally. And like, I'm a big data guy. So everyone has like their level 2 and all their different tools on whoever they're using, right? But again, I use the Whoop. It's funny. I got all these watches. I don't wear any watch. I wear a Whoop. For 3 years, it's the only thing I've ever worn consistently. But I love the data, right? I want to know my sleep patterns. I want to know my heart stuff. I want to know like my breathing, all these different things. And then look at like, I can tell when I don't do cold plunge, right? That's another thing. Like, I tell any of your guys that aren't going to be consistently, go do cold plunge. I'm like, I procrastinate, do 5 different things that I would normally even never do before I get in that friggin' 35 or 40 degree water, right? But I feel the best that I felt, because anxiety, depression, doing hard things allows me to then be better for the day. And right now I'm just starting implementing it. Wake up in the morning and make myself go in that cold plunge before I do anything else. So 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, go and do 3 minutes in that cold plunge and then start my day. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm a different person. But I think that that's key. So looking at like what you guys have as tools outside of trading, I think your trading can 2, 3, 4, 10x based on making yourself right first, right? And I've heard lots of different stories. Like I believe, and don't quote me to this, but I think Jack Kellogg, he did a big, huge like thing on himself, right? He was burnt out after like one of the past couple of years. And then he went, what did he do? He spent all this time and money on building his health, right? And if you look at when he came back, what has he done the last couple of years, right? He's blown up. But I think that's key, because if all these guys and girls sitting in front of the computer all day, standing, whatever, again, get yourself right, and then everything else becomes right down the road.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think that's extremely helpful and extremely relevant. This idea of traders looking within, figuring themselves out, working to be the best possible version of themselves, even away from the desk. Because, like you're mentioning, not everything is going to happen in terms of progressing as a trader while you're at your desk. It's going to happen maybe at the doctor's office, maybe in the garage, in your case, doing a cold plunge. And so I think that's extremely helpful for people to hear, which is not everything is going to happen at the desk per se.
Yeah. Yeah, I tell people like you need to look at doing hard stuff on a daily basis. I think too many people are soft. Okay, too many people like have their comfort, but they don't do hard stuff, so they don't challenge themselves, and that's like relevant to trading because when you do hard stuff outside of sort of your job of trading or your hobby of trading, whatever, then other things become easy, right? And that's where again, every time something becomes hard and it starts to go easy, then you want to do something harder, right? And I think that's the challenge. It's the same thing as risk. That's like how do you grow the account size? How do you increase position size? But again, doing things that are hard and not in your comfort zone grow you as a person and grow you as a trader, as a bunch of, I don't know, whatever else it is in your relationships, etc. But you have to do hard things. I see so many people not wanting to do hard things, right? So
Thank you so much for that, Todd. One of the other topics that I wanted to discuss, I know you had brought it up a little earlier, was networking and the
yeah,
power of networking. I could say firsthand that I consider you to be pretty masterful at networking. I met you at the Traders for a Cause conference, and one of the things that really struck me about you was, you were talking about putting me in touch with a couple people that
yep.
I idolize, think are tremendous. And so, hats off to you for that. The question I had was, in terms of how networking has impacted you and how Traders for a Cause can benefit other traders out there who maybe otherwise wouldn't network with others.
I think networking is one of the most important things. It's like if you looked at all the tools, I call it in your tool belt, whatever, networking's number one, if not in that, right? Your Rolodex is like really your life. Okay. Your Rolodex is like, and I think like a lot of the masterminds and stuff out there, the big mentors, like that's one key thing, right? They all have big Rolodexes and stuff. And that's the benefit of sometimes going to a mentor or mastermind because you get access to that Rolodex. And again, but going in, not ever expecting anything back, right? Like that's, so I tell people all the time, like you're going to network and stuff, but just bring as much value. Try to go in that room and just over deliver on value. That's the key thing, right? But to me, it's networking's been the number one key thing. Like all the relationships, we have zero salespeople in this business, like Icon, but all the big deals come through networking, right? They come through introductions. For me, it's, I don't know, I'm not saying it's a gift, but I'm pretty decent in, I'll call it connecting. And I've just, again, made that one of the things that I sort of have taken my time to build. But again, I want to connect people on deals. I want to connect people just in life. There's so many good people, right? I think like always look at it like, hey, the glass isn't half empty, right? It's from that standpoint, sort of U plus U equals way more than two. And I think there's lots of opportunities out there. So I sort of thrive on that. I think Traders for a Cause is awesome. I think it brings together a community of like-minded individuals. And it's not just on trading, right? It's like you see all the different conversations, you hear all the different conversations. We've made friendships and partnerships outside of sort of those 2 days or 3 days. And I think it's wonderful. I think like you could probably have those going on a lot more and they'd always be oversold or sold out right away. But from that standpoint, I think I talked to Nate about this and like Zach and just bringing some other people to introduce some other things outside of trading to that community, which I think can grow. And then again, there's so many people that will give back to that cause, the breast cancer or whatever the foundation is that you're supporting on those different events, right? But from that standpoint, networking is key. And I think like what you guys have done in New York and California, doing the different sort of the poker events and stuff. It's funny because we used to do those poker events all the time and it became like an annual 3 years. We had it going 4 years at our different like sort of conferences for another company I had, but they're great because it brings those like-minded people together and it allows you to, like I said, lift that lid, right? That law of the lid comes off and all of a sudden there's other information. And the big thing is having those people take what they learn and actually implement though. Okay. Because there's so many people that are knowledge seekers and I'll call it like almost sort of like little, I don't know, concert, whatever people, right? They go to all these things and they consume all these knowledge and they buy all this and then they're still at the same place they were the next year. And that shouldn't be the case, right? You want to take what you have from networking or from these events and then be able to implement and take action. So all the different things, the notes that you took, they shouldn't just be sitting in a journal, right? They should be actually be reread, be implemented. Are you making change? Like, are you, I don't know, have you grown your account? Have you changed? Have you put a new setup in? Have you stopped doing something? Have you, I don't know, read a new book like that was talked about? Have you, I don't know, watch one of Mike Bellafour's like different YouTube videos based on what he talked about, right? Or like blah, 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 blah. So there's lots of different things. But again, networking as well, a lot of people have to get out of their comfort zones. They just need to go up and introduce themselves, right? Like that's like, again, if you go somewhere and you're going to sit back in your chair and you're going to sit in the back row, that's no good, right? You want to ask questions. You want to, so from that standpoint, I love it. You guys have done a great job there. And I think networking is key. And again, I know a lot of people, trading becomes like sort of an individual, call it event or sport or business or whatever, right? That's why I think a lot of traders will benefit a lot more, and they could blow their businesses up a lot more if they sort of stepped outside of that mindset. It doesn't have to be individual sitting in a chair in your house. Like, I love the concept that some of Timmy Sykes guys and stuff, and like Jack and those guys did, right? They'd gone to different houses and they put like 10 people, 20 people, I don't know, in Greece, whatever, Dubai, and come together. But I think there's more of that. And like, there's a lot of different people. Roland Wolf does a really good job on that right now. And there's others, like I know Nate's done some different things. So from that standpoint, I think networking is awesome. It's key, but consistently we talked about doing that over and over and over, and then taking action on what you get from that event or from the network.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up consistently. Being able to apply different things that you've learned at those events, I think, is the key. And I've heard a couple of other traders mention that as being extremely important, not just going to listen and one ear out the other, but taking notes, actively listening, and then applying what you learn at those types of events can be the game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
And one of the things that you had mentioned is giving without expecting anything in return, and I think that's a really important and powerful concept and perspective. So, how can traders, give, whether they're new traders or more veteran traders, if they don't think that they're able to give anything? Say, for example, a newer trader who wants to network with someone with a little bit more experience, but maybe they're worried that they can't teach anything to
Sure.
someone new. What can they do to be beneficial and give everything that they possibly can?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. Like one, a lot of people have what I call imposter syndrome. So they feel like they're not worthy or they don't have this experience or whatever. And it's you got to do it, right? Like a lot of people like, well, I'm not going to start a YouTube channel, or I'm not going to start this free form or whatever because I don't have enough experience. I don't have this, or I'll do this when I hit 100,000 in profit or whatever. And it's just, you got to take those steps, right? You have to, like, for me, a lot of other people say, hey, well, I'll give when I have this much money. Well, it's not all about money, right? Like I'm a big believer, like from just like Bible and Christian stuff about like give more, it'll come back to you twice as much, right? And that's how I've always been. It's not that easy all the time. When I look at it and say, okay, well, hey, I make this much money. This is what I've told myself that like, hey, I'll tithe, I'll give, etc., whatever it is, right? And it just becomes that consistency, okay, consistency and discipline, where it's not even relevant to me anymore. That's what we do. We support certain charities, we support certain things with monetary donations, but it's also then from service standpoint, right? I look at how can I serve others? It's like, how can I make an impact? How can I add value to other people's lives? And that's really like, I feel if I'm not doing that, or like me and my wife and others, like my wife's huge on like mission trips and stuff, right? She goes to Brazil and does all these different mission trips. And even during COVID, like it was crazy but again, that's just how we've become wired and consistently made the discipline, but you just have to do it, right? Like from a trader standpoint, like every single trader is starting somewhere. If you're up here, every single person, just like you started down here. Okay, maybe there's a few that started up here, but again, so every single thing that's learned to baby step up that ladder, I'll call it, right? Someone else doesn't know. Someone else has the resources now to get that content on YouTube or wherever else, but you can always give free content, right? Like people always say like, hey, how do you train? I know this is relevant to trading, but how do you train? How do you do this? And I always post like different workouts and stuff. I just want to give more content. I'll answer all the DMs. I'm never above anyone, right? I want to help someone. And it's the same thing in the gym. Like if I see someone who's hugely overweight and stuff and doing, I don't know, wrong, I'm going to go over there and just ask them, hey, can I give you a piece of advice, or hey, this is what worked for me, right? And I think there's something that's key here as a trader or as a person in general. I learned this from network marketing, but I call it feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I felt the same way, but this is what I did. And that's the key thing, I think, for your traders. So if you're a new trader, but you have others, like maybe you have brothers, there's a lot of young traders that made a ton of money right now, right? Over the past few years. But again, it's relevant. I know exactly how you feel. I felt the same way. This is what I did to get started. Or the Nates and stuff. Hey, I know how you feel, man. I screwed up a bunch of times, right? Like I know how you felt. This is what I did to get where we are today, and implement that, right? And then it's baby steps. And a couple of people are going to take your advice, and some people won't take your advice, and they'll say, hey, it was crappy, shitty advice, whatever. But you can't please everyone, okay? And again, don't worry about what other people think. Just give without wanting to receive. And when I say receive, I don't mean, hey, getting monetary things back. Receive without getting all good blessings and positive opinion, because you're going to get these haters, you're going to get these different people, right? There's always people out there that want to have the blame, right? They're always going to be victims somewhere. And just, but again, give without any expectation of receiving, and don't get like hell bent on, hey, having all these positive feedback or positive reviews. Just continually give. But also, I think it's important on the service side is to continually do it. Don't do it when you feel good, right? You need to continually add back. Like, I guarantee we'd serve a bunch of different kids charities and stuff for work and stuff. I don't always feel like doing it, right? But again, I know it's in the best interest and it's what I want to do at my core, but I have to have that discipline to continually be able to do it, right? And again, once that becomes habit and stuff, it grows. You're going to see incremental value added back into your life. And again, when you have that incremental value, then what can I do? I can add more, I can give more, right? More money, more time, different things. So I think that's key. Just get started and never worry about, like, the biggest thing is that imposter syndrome. Hey, I'm not worthy. I can't. It's bull crap, right? You just have to believe in yourself. Everyone started here or below, and just continually try to make an impact. Like I always say, hey, use me. How can I make an impact? How can I change someone's life? How can I add value to others today?
One of the things I wanted to talk about as well is you're also running a business. And so I wanted to ask a little bit about Icon Meals. And the first question I had was, how did you start Icon Meals? What was the origin of that?
Yeah. So it's more a passion project. So I said, we sold the other business I had, Layer Tech, in 2014. I told my wife, hey, I'm going to start another business. And she's like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Why can't you just like go get a normal person's job? Why can't you just like, hey, we're going to have the little white picket fence and stuff. And it's crazy because I just told you I have a 7-year-old. So 7 years ago, she just found out we were pregnant. I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way, like, you can't be pregnant, etc. But that's when, like, so if you take way back 15 years before that, I had no money. It's credit card debt. That's when I started my other first company, right? The funeral side. And then we found out we're pregnant. 15 years later, I'm starting another company after we just sold the one, and we just found out we're pregnant. She's like, oh my gosh, this is like deja vu. But she just trusts me, right? She's been with me. We've been together 25 years, 28 years, married 25 years. So again, it's that trust. This was the other key thing. Whether you're a trader or anyone in general, find a life partner that is your best friend, and find a life partner that you guys can do life with together. And that's mutual respect, and just build that bond, because that's a key thing in life, I think, for at least for me going forward. But from that standpoint, it's more passion project. I told you I grew up not being in good shape, nicknamed Lumpy, right? So I truly believe that, like, food can change someone's life if they do it the right way, right? And there was so much crap out there in the market. I had a bunch of other buddies that owned some food companies, and I just didn't like the preservatives, didn't like the different stuff. So we actually started Icon Meals, building custom meals. So being able to pick protein, carb, and veggies or whatever, and based on like dietary requirements, macros, etc. That's how we started it. And again, we made a sort of promise to ourselves that we would never put anything in the food, any like crap ingredients, any crap proteins, etc., that we wouldn't eat ourselves or that I wouldn't feed to my family. So we've stayed at that level all the time and just sort of grown it that way. My partner, who's our executive chef as well, he comes from the culinary background since pretty much born, and did a bunch of different things, ran hotels and other stuff. So, excuse me, it was a good combination that way. And then from that, we rolled out sort of signature menu and just continued to build it. If it's funny, because I say all the time, if I knew sort of 7-8 years ago what I know now, I probably wouldn't be in the perishable food space. It's an interesting business. So, but yeah, again, lots of ups and downs, lots of risks, different things, but it's a passion project. I continually think we're changing people's lives. We see the stories all the time. We have lots of people that come in, just total transformations, or I don't know, had some chronic disease, or they've just, again, not been able to get where they want, and through using our food, doing different things with us, it's changed people's lives. And I just truly believe that we continue to do that. We're doing good, and try to, again, just keep stepping that up on a daily basis. But it is that passion project.
Okay, absolutely. And yeah, I think I had told you earlier, my Icon Meals arrive tomorrow. I'm very much looking forward to those. One of the questions that I had for you, Todd, was whether there were any business challenges and adversity, especially in the early days, because we definitely know as traders, those early days can be quite difficult. Did you experience the same in the business side?
Yeah, you've had tons. Like we didn't. So with Layer Tech, before I had a big partner, so we I probably raised $80 million or more for Layer Tech, which is my other company, and I had a big partner, Excel KKR. So you guys are probably in the venture community familiar with Excel KKR, for 9 of my 14 years. So I had lots of money in different things, right? And we bought 4 different companies, etc. This one, was more self-funded. So again, when you talk about risk, like I went after having that company for 14 years, and sure, we sold it and stuff, but it wasn't all crazy rainbows. When I went and sold like our huge house that we had for 10 years, all this land and stuff, and moved my wife and my 2 kids and one on the way into a 4-bedroom condo. And I don't know, many of you can probably attest, if your wife's been living a certain way of life for 11 years, and all of a sudden you sell everything, put everything in storage, and tell her, hey, you're moving in and you're taking this money to start a new business. She really has to trust you, right? It really has to sort of be on that same wavelength. So I promised her basically within 2 years we'd be back building again and stuff, and we did that. But there's lots of diversity, from things where I don't know like anything really about the regulation and stuff, and in the food industry is crazy. And that's where, again, is probably the biggest frustration to me. It's not all apples to apples, it's apples to friggin' watermelons and pears and whatever else. And there's a bunch of crap product out there today, and people tell you what's in there and it's far from what's in there. So like we regularly test, I don't know, tons of different people's food. I would never say anything because karma's whatever, but it's, again, it's far from the truth. And that's why, so we made the decision to go USDA. So USDA is hard. It's not fun. It regulates you in a lot of different ways, but that's sort of, we've been there for 4.5 years. But before that, like, I don't know, I didn't know there was like FDA and USDA and all these different boards that come in. So I still remember, I don't know if you guys, I'm older, I guess, but if you remember Saturday Night Live, do you remember who Pat is? Pat was like, you didn't know if she was a guy or a girl. So we had this person come in and had a camouflage hat on, a big Bowie knife on her hip. And then she's like, I'm going to start looking in your fridge and all this. And this lady's crawling around the floor with a Bowie knife on her leg and a big flashlight looking under her. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And again, we didn't know like compliance and all these other things. And I didn't know I wasn't supposed to ship out of state on wholesale. And there's some other restriction I had to have. So we got a lot of lessons learned. Probably one of the biggest lessons is like doing our own HACCP. So HACCP is like your critical control points, like sort of for failures. And when you set up that, most people in a business, especially in food, will hire consultants and stuff. Well, I didn't have 50, 100 grand to pay these guys at the start. And it was sort of, well, we did our own, but the best thing we ever did, we failed the first time. And that's just because they had to fail us pretty much. Everything was perfect. But it's like a lot of people go and they hire these consultants, but then they don't know how to implement it because they didn't write the plan, right? Or they didn't do the plan. So when we did it internally, those was some of the lessons we've learned in different things. But again, we've just evolved and pivoted. We've had lots of pivoting. Like I told you early on, got sued for some, whatever it was, I forget it now, but again, we've never lost. But it's like, from that standpoint, I'm like, holy crap, what did you do? Who wants to sue you, right? For something. Or I had different shipping things. Like when, I don't know, a few years back, we had ice storms in Texas and FedEx shut down for 7 days. Well, I had 65,000 meals on a Monday ready to ship out and couldn't ship them for 7 days, and cost me like over $500,000, right? And then I had to start buying belly space on a plane that I wouldn't normally have to buy to get meals out to people. So there's a lot of different things, because at the end of the day, the customer, let's say I'm shipping meals to Nate, he doesn't care if his meals didn't come because of FedEx, it's me, right? So I have to take care of the customer and try to build a client-centric organization that it's customer-facing, customer-focused. And so from that, you're never going to be prepared. It's never going to be this shiny sort of, I know you're on the ocean and you're sailing with no wind and no storms, right? There's going to be lots of storms, but it's how you look at it. And again, a lot of people, I think, look at different things in life and they look at it like they're hitting a wall, right? And they just keep continuing to try to go through this wall. Well, what we've become, I'll call it decent at, is instead of trying to go through the wall, let's build a ladder and go up over the wall, right? And I think that's a differentiating factor. So it's how you look and perception on what storms are coming at you. And again, they're not going to be, everything's going to pass, right? It's how you deal with it in the presence. But don't procrastinate, do the hard things in business, make the hard decisions. The biggest decisions that, I don't know, cost me a lot of money are, I say, hire slow, fire quickly. Okay. And from that standpoint, when you, I don't know, I want to believe that everyone's a good person and I want to help everyone and stuff. And I don't know, once screw up, okay, twice, 3 times, shame on me, right? And again, I've had a lot of lessons there. If you don't fire quickly because of whatever, it becomes like a blister, it becomes an infection, and it's just sort of self-sabotaging, and it spreads. So that's a big lesson for me. I'd also say you got to be lean. Like people are like our first old warehouse and stuff and facilities. Like I had 2 houses back then, and I don't know, I think our conference table was my dining room. I had pretty much my whole furniture in one of our offices from our house. But again, don't have to be like that internet bubble startup, right? Where you spend millions and millions of dollars on the facilities and offices and furnitures. And again, keep it lean. Lean makes it easier to sustain and to grow. And I say, I don't know, I don't want to say live within your means, but sort of live within your means, conduct business within your means, right? Because it's not, hey, you build it and they will come. It's you build it and you have to market to, and you have to bring in, and then you have to keep them from churning off, right? So it's a lot of different things. But again, same thing as personal, what we talked about before, personal development, right? Business development, bringing in people that can help you scale your business that have done it before. Guys that are like, I don't know, there's lots of CEO boards. There's lots of, if you're in food production, there's different CPG, like sort of masterminds. There's different food service production, right? Getting into those different things and having good people. And I think the key thing as well for a lot of businesses, and again, trading is a little bit different, but if your business is, a lot of people don't hire because they're scared, oh, this person makes more than me, or this. You got to hire good people. People are the things that build the business. It's not you. Drop the ego, okay? Get out of the way and let the people build the business, because the people will build the business, which the business will then grow. And you're, as a business owner, your sort of overall objective is to not, I don't know, don't build you as the face of the business, right? Build yourself that you don't have to be involved in the business to run the business. And that's the best kind of business you can run. So again, be in the background, sort of push your people up on a pedestal and not you. And again, I'll say two things: processes and systems. And if I said processes, like that's the Canadian word for me, I guess, I don't know, but processes and systems are, that's key. You got to build something that has a process and has a system that is repeatable over time and that can scale. Don't build a business that's something that can't scale. So if you look at, like, you're looking at a product, or you're looking to introduce a service, or you're looking to introduce anything else, can it scale? If it can't scale and the answer is no, then at least in my mind, reevaluate if you truly want to go forward with that. Maybe your goal is to stay small, great. But if not, it's all about scale.
There's a few concepts in there that you mentioned that really remind me of some of the concepts we learn in trading. One
Trading,
is,
yeah.
if you found the wrong person or you got into the wrong trade, get out fast.
Yep.
One is to find solutions and, build that wall rather than trying to go through the wall. Think of a way around it rather than trying to just brute force your way.
Yeah, I think that's relevant to trading, because a lot of people, like, I don't know, let's say you're going to size into a position, right? And a lot of people just force that position at the start, right? And but again, you might still be on the front side or something, right? And you're going to get wiped out before it goes to the backside. And so again, maybe it is baby step, right? Maybe you have that plan and you're taking lot increments of 250 shares or 500 shares instead of like going in all 5,000 or 10,000 at once, right? Again, and then having that hard stop loss, right? But again, a lot of people, it's that wall. We're headstrong, right? So again, the ladder to me is that solution. And again, it's not always perfect ladder. So I don't know, I might be crawling in the upper floor window sometimes, but again, be able to pivot, which is real relevant to trading. Don't be headstrong, right? Be able to pivot, be able to, I don't know, the market changes on a dime. And again, you have to make those decisions quickly and be okay with that.
Can you talk about the importance of being relentless in pursuit of finding success, whether it's
Yep.
icon meals or as a trader?
Yep. So to me, I always post like relentless pursuit. I believe that's totally 100%. If you guys haven't read a book by Tim Grover, it's called Relentless, go buy that book. He's the guy that was the trainer of Jordan, of Kobe, of everyone. It's an amazing book, but so relevant to trading. So Relentless by Tim Grover. But you have to be relentless in your pursuit, because if not, you're shortchanging yourself, right? And I think a lot of people, a little bit of success or a little bit of this, and then they stop. But it's got to be constantly relentless, right? And that goes into that wall. If you're like relentless and okay, we're going over it now, right? But again, a lot of people aren't relentless. They sort of get stuck after maybe 2 attempts or 3 attempts, and I don't know, they don't go around looking for a solution. They're just done, right? And I think you're never going to succeed in life. You're never going to succeed in a relationship. You're never going to succeed in, I don't know, being a good parent if something doesn't work and you just give up, right? So again, life's all to me about being just relentless in anything that you want. It's, if you're pursuing, I don't know, greatness in trading, you're pursuing greatness in being that best parent, right? Or I don't know, for bank account or for starting a business or whatever you want to do, like running a marathon, whatever it is, right? You have to be relentless. A lot of people, like, I don't know, say they're going to train for a marathon and then they go, holy shit, after like running 6 miles a bunch of times, it's too hard for you. Well, they're not being relentless, right? It's weak-minded. So again, 100% though, that goes back to mindset. It goes back to loading yourself up with like what you're putting in your mind, right? How you're doing the hard things. If you're not doing the hard things, I don't know, don't expect to ever get anywhere in life, because it's not like, I don't know, to me, it's not about having stuff handed to you. You have to do the hard things. And that goes into like that relentless nature, right? Becoming relentless should just be one of your core values, and it should be sort of how you build your life and what you want for you and I don't know others with you, your family, whatever. So that's a big believer in that word and in that mindset.
Thank you so much, Todd. I think that's very helpful to hear. If it's okay with you, I'd love to go through a lightning round set of questions, just
Sure,
quick questions, quick answers.
sure.
The first question that I have is, what do you consider to be your greatest strength as a trader?
I'd have to say probably just my mindset in regards to risk. I think from that standpoint, if I didn't have the risk tolerance that I have, I'd probably not be where I am today. And I'm far from where I want to be in trading, but just in regards to being able to even sort of grow and get into position and stuff, I think the risk is where probably the most relevant to me.
If you could give yourself one piece of advice at the start of your trading journey, what do you think it would be? And do you think that you would listen to that advice?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd listen to the advice because it's probably I'm not the best on listening to my own advice sometimes, but I think it would be more like I have to take action, I have to do it, right? So I would have done things with a smaller account and not necessarily sure. Maybe I would have paper traded and tried strategies first. I think for me, I sort of jumped in, and that was maybe because it was in that internet bubble. And sure, I had some great luck, but that was more luck than it was any skill. So I think if I had had proper strategies and followed proper setups in that, I would have set myself up in a position to be a lot better off I was today, because there was a ton of money to be made back then, and there was huge gaps, right? Like huge gaps on 1,000 shares or something. You could make a lot of money every single day for consistently. But again, I think that's key. So for me, it would have been like sticking to my proper setups, trading proper setups, learning more of those setups, and then pivoting when those setups weren't working anymore.
And are there any areas of your trading that you would like to improve on?
100%. Yeah, I'd like to, like I said, have more time. I'd like to be able to, I don't know, constantly and confidently fully understand what I call my A plus and A's setups are, right? And have more of those in my arsenal that I'm confident in. And that becomes just for me, it's screen time, right? Because I can't do, I don't know, I can't even probably do 20 hours consistently right now, a week or 40 hours. There's no way. And I think for me, there's no excuses. It's just, I know what I need to do. And that's why I said, like, down the road, I have a full plan of being able to trade a lot more, but it is screen time because you have to be in front of the screen. It's the same thing. Like, you have to be in the gym if you want results. So it's just having that confidence and to be able to fully execute on those setups. But it goes back to the being able to have more time, screen time.
Are there one or two practical things that traders can do to improve their networking skills?
Yeah, I think one of them, you have to put yourself in the room, right? A lot of people, I don't know, like, go back to that imposter syndrome. They don't feel like they have like anything to bring, right? And they don't take a seat in the room. So when it's offered to them, like, networking events are open forum a lot of the time, right? It's like, it's not, sure, certain masterminds you have to be invited and stuff too, but like, when the opportunity is there, you have to go execute on that opportunity. Like, make sure that you're confident that you do deserve a seat at the table, and the seat's offered, take the seat. And then you're not wrong. You have to speak, right? Like, introduce yourself, speak. And again, try to add value. So here's what I do. Like, if I'm going into, let's say, a sales meeting or a meeting with someone that I don't really know, and I'm going to show in their office, like, I'm always way ahead of time. Okay, that's one of my pet peeves, be way ahead of time, right? Like, again, same with trading. I don't care who you are. Don't show up 10 minutes before the market's open and unprepared, right? And when I say prepared for a meeting, I'm going in this person's office. I'm going to circle the room, like, with my eyes. I'm going to do whatever research I have to do ahead of time on them. And I want to have a conversation with them that's relevant, asking them questions about, like, I'm already going to know what they like their likes, their different things, right? Or as much as I can. I'm going to see what's in their office or wherever they are, because that's going to tell me more relevancy. And then I'm going to try to add value on those certain things. So if I know someone that, hey, maybe knows them, we might connect that way. We might connect on, like, a hobby, on a sport, but we're not going to talk right off the bat about the business or whatever we're there for, right? We're going to build that rapport first, and then you have some sort of connection. And that's, I think, key in the networking side of it. And then again, leaving that first conversation or that meeting, whatever, like, understanding potentially what you can add or how you can add value to these individuals, right? And again, we all have different sort of unique fingerprints in life, and each of us can pretty much offer someone else something in some area.
Do you have any advice for aspiring entrepreneurs out there?
Entrepreneurship is great. Like, you can go out there, and I think a bunch of people I see today, like, they look at it and they say they have all these different ideas, but someone else is doing it. Who cares? Can you do it better? Can you do it differently, right? It doesn't mean there's always room for more competition out there, right? And I look at it, I say, like, what's the sort of the like barrier to entry in this market, right? And what is that? What does this involve? Like, is it a capital intensive business? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Like, and then just sort of leveraging how you can grow into that space. And again, entrepreneurship is awesome because, again, but you have to understand your personality, right? Like, is your personality somewhere where you want to build this $100 million business, $200 million business? Or is it something that you maybe want a digital product business, right? That gives you freedom. You're writing copy from anywhere in the world. Like, if you're some guy or girl that wants to travel the world and stuff, well, don't get stuck into, hey, building some manufacturing business that you're tied to brick and mortar, right? Again, what's your appetite for risk? There's different industries. So again, really defining yourself, sort of your personality, what you're like and stuff, and then building a business that, like, I don't know, it's like sort of life by design to me, right? Again, I think more people go into a job and then they try to build their life around the job, and that's opposite. You need to, like, build your sort of career, build your business around your life. And that's how more people should look at it. So I think I say, one, just start, take action. Two, don't think about, oh, it's just all this capital. It's not, okay? It's, do you have an idea that you can implement? Can you do it better? And I think a lot of people should start in a business. Like, I don't mean their own business, be an entrepreneur and be the best entrepreneur you can until that sort of, and then have side hustle. Like, maybe it's trading, right? You're learning to trade. Well, all of a sudden, after X amount of consistency, that these amount of months equal your full time or whatever, and you've got some money in the bank, maybe you go off and you start trading full time. Or it's, maybe I don't know, working for Icon and I'm biz dev or I'm marketing, but I really want to start my own agency. Well, okay, great. Then be doing maybe some side hustle on the side, like at nights and stuff with, I don't know, chat GPT and AI. There's tons of different things you do, right? But then build that level until where you have enough income and you have enough different things and you have enough knowledge. And then, hey, thanks, Todd, for it, whatever, and move on. But again, you got to build the belief in yourself, but you got to put in the work. You got to do the hustle. And I think that's, like, so many things people say, oh, I'm hustling. Well, you're not putting in the hustle, okay? You're just doing what sort of is that perceived notion. So again, I don't know, entrepreneurship is awesome, but again, you have to be able to pour into yourself. You have to do those hard things. You have to assess risk. If you're someone that does not want one penny of risk, I don't just mean money risk, but mental, and have that capacity. And you got to really challenge yourself, because I say a lot of the time for people, you can make good money as an entrepreneur if you leverage, but again, it's the same thing. You're just working for someone else who's got all the other headaches, right? If I could go work, I don't know, it wouldn't work for me, but if someone else go work for someone else and make X amount of, I don't know, I have sales guys that before my last company were making millions of dollars. I was paying them 40,000 base, way more than me on a salary and stuff. But those guys were hustlers, right? They built the business. So again, they're entrepreneurs. They just didn't want the headache of having the capital and the structure and the employee headaches and stuff. But I don't know, making 7 figures a year, whatever, as an entrepreneur and living like a lavish lifestyle, that's a great business as well. So again, I say go for it.
And for those listening who want to learn more about you, Todd, or Icon Meals, how can they do so?
Yeah, so for Icon Meals, it's anywhere on social media. We're all over the place at iconmeals.com or at Icon Meals. So we're most probably active on Instagram. We have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. And then it's iconmeals.com. If you guys are like food people and stuff, we have lots of different giveaways, lots of different things. We do some stuff with Nate in the IU community. And I know you guys have discount structure and stuff. Any feedback, anything I can help you with, let me know. And as far as me personally, it's at Todd Abrams. So TODDABRAMS. On pretty much all social media, Instagram, etc. And yeah, anything we can do, I'd love to help you, or you tell me I'm wrong, that's all good as well. So,
Well, Todd, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today and answer all my questions. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to trying my Icon Meals tomorrow.
awesome. Thanks, Anthony, for the opportunity. I appreciate it. It was a great conversation with you.
If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Thanks for watching.